Progress is never a straight line. It's a jagged path of experiments, stumbles, and flashes of insight. That quote from our notes this week really nails it, doesn't it?
It really does. It captures that feeling of trying to make sense of all these rapid changes.
Exactly. And that's probably why you're tuning in. You want to keep up with what's happening in AI, robotics, semiconductors, all the big stuff without drowning in information.
Right. And that's what we've been digging into, especially the flood of news from the week ending, what was it, May 4th, 2025?
Yeah.
Press releases, GitHub commits, live streams, hacker news threads. It was a lot.
It really was. So our mission here, is to sift through that, connect some dots, maybe offer a bit of critique based on what we found in the sources.
Basically, cut through the noise and highlight what feels like actual progress. Think of us as, I guess, guides.
Yeah, guides through the hype and the headlines. We know you want the insights, quick but thorough. So let's dive in.
Okay. Good starting point.
Yeah.
Meta. They had their first LlamaCon.
Right, the conference for their open source Llama models, which is a pretty clear contrast to the closed models like GPT-4o or Claude 3.
Definitely a strategic choice. Zuckerberg really hammered that open approach. But it wasn't just about the models, was it? They also showed off the revamped Meta AI app.
Yeah, the one that used to be MetaView for the Ray-Ban glasses.
Exactly. So obviously hands-free voice stuff, notes syncing to the cloud instantly. But the really interesting bit was that public feed.
The AI-generated conversations feed. Yeah, someone called it Instagram stories for prompt engineering.
Which is kind of spot on. They're basically prompting a public activity, hoping the community just runs with it and finds new ways to use the AI.
It's a big bet on the community, isn't it? Like hoping collective creativity outpaces their internal teams, crowdsourcing discovery.
Reminds me a bit, historically, of ImageNet plus AlexNet back in 2012. That combination unlocked so much in computer vision.
You think Meta's aiming for something similar with language here?
Feels like it. Trying to spark that kind of Cambrian explosion for language models through open access and community interaction. If you're interested in how open source drives innovation, this is one to watch.
Definitely. But speaking of those glasses, there was that privacy update right after LlamaCon.
Yes. Wrinkle. So the Hey Meta voice recordings, they now go straight to the cloud. No option to keep them local anymore.
It just highlights that constant tension, We want seamless, frictionless AI.
But that frictionlessness often means more data collection, more potential privacy erosion.
So Meta's solution is you can delete the recordings later.
Right, post hoc deletion, which shifts the burden, really. It's now up to you, the user, to practice good data hygiene, as they say.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Where's your personal line between convenience and privacy with this stuff? Okay, let's shift gears. Google was also incredibly busy this week.
Oh yeah, keeping pace. First up, AI mode in Google Search.
Right, in the Labs tab. It gives you that conversational search experience, an LLM summary, then the links.
Seems like a bit of maybe, a soft concession to publishers worried about losing traffic.
Could be. And it worked pretty well in that example, the ego search for the deep learning Carpathy style tutorial. It actually found the right blog post.
That's good. But the sources we looked at flagged a couple of potential issues. Caveats, let's say.
The first one was citation granularity. Right?
Exactly. Sometimes it cites the whole website, not the specific paragraph where the info came from, which is not great for checking sources, especially for anything academic.
Yeah, trying to find one fact on a huge site, no thanks. And the second thing was answer freezing.
Right, because it caches responses, apparently. So if you ask a follow-up hours later, you might get old info. Someone called it Snapchat memories for knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, a frozen snapshot. Good to know. But Google wasn't just tweaking search. Gemini got image editing powers.
Native image editing, yeah. You upload a picture, and boom, there's this sort of Photoshop light palette. It's using the same diffusion model as their ImageFX tool.
The interface sounds simple: brush, erase, regenerate.
Supposedly very intuitive, but not perfect. There's that funny anecdote.
Oh, the coffee mug that kept turning into a tea kettle?
That's the one. Suggest the model, powerful as it is, maybe needs more diverse training data to get common objects right consistently.
Always the training data. Okay, on a more positive note, NotebookLM.
Big language expansion there. The audio overviews feature where it reads your notes back to you in a natural voice, now it does over 50 languages.
That's actually super useful. It changes note-taking from just like pings and text to something you can listen to. More like a whisper than an alert.
Yeah, and that personal story someone shared, listening to a physics outline while walking the dog. It highlights how audio can make learning feel more human. Less like just staring at text.
Connects differently with memory, maybe, and still on learning Google's little language lessons.
Oh, right, those 3 micro apps using Gemini. Tiny Lesson, Slang Hang, and WordCam.
WordCam sounds really clever. Take a picture and it labels stuff. Streetlight, sidewalk.
Stray cat, apparently. Yeah, the idea was described as Anki with world anchoring.
That's a great description. Grounding vocab in your actual surroundings could be really sticky for beginners.
It definitely makes you think how AI is just weaving itself into everyday tools for learning, productivity, all sorts of things. Okay, shall we move on to generative art?
Yes, let's. Recraft's style library caught my eye.
Yeah, this sounds like a big deal for brands. Imagine combining Figma-style consistency with stable diffusion stylistic power.
So you can lock in colors, a whole visual DNA with just a slider to get consistent brand images.
Pretty much. It's like the beginning of CSS for latent space, as one source put it. A structured way to manage visual style in AI generation.
Okay, that's cool. And MidJourney had something new too, omni-reference.
Right. Lets you blend a sketch with a text prompt under a specific art style.
How's that useful?
Think about creating consistent characters for, say, a webcomic or storyboard. Much easier to maintain the look across multiple images. Big help for visual storytelling.
Ah, makes sense. Lowering the barrier there. And then there's Krea.
Krea's GPT Paint. This one's interesting because it's more visual prompting. You draw directly on the image to tell the AI what to do.
Like put a hat here, but you draw the box for the hat.
Exactly. WYSIWYG prompting what you see is what you get. Could be a big shift away from just typing text prompts.
But there was that weird quirk too, the image degradation thing.
Oh yeah, the darker quirk.
Good.
If you take a Krea image, feed it to ChatGPT, ask it to refine it, then feed the result back in, and repeat.
The image gets worse, like the telephone game.
Kind of. The visual equivalent. Details blur, colors shift. It's like entropy for images when bounced between models like that.
Yeah.
Raises questions about how these things actually work underneath.
Definitely strange. Okay, moving from visuals, how about music and voice?
Suno released V4.5. The big things there seem to be a wider range of genres, but also much better voice quality, more distinct timbres.
So it doesn't just sound like generic AI singing anymore.
Less so, apparently. You can render different vocal ranges more convincingly. Someone compared it to MIDI for vocal cords, which feels increasingly apt.
Interesting. And Duolingo made a big announcement.
Yeah, declaring themselves an AI-first company.
Yeah.
And trimming back on human contractors who curated sentence pairs for lessons.
Because the AI can handle the contextual content generation now.
That seems to be the rationale. AI is getting good enough at understanding context to create that core lesson content. Shows how AI roles are shifting in education and creative fields.
Okay, let's talk commerce. OpenAI added something quietly.
Yeah, a shopping tab in ChatGPT. But it's not for buying directly in ChatGPT.
It's more like a recommendation engine. You ask for something specific.
Like ultralight trail runners, wide toe box, under $140.
And it gives you a list of actual products with reasons based on reviews and links to buy them elsewhere.
Exactly. It's smart strategically. Lower risk than giving medical or legal advice. Lets them practice citation, personalization, keeping info current, all in a relatively safe sandbox.
It makes you wonder about the future of personalized shopping, right? AI curating lists just for you.
Totally. Now, speaking of personalization, what about AI personality? That GPT-4o story.
Oh, right. It was being overly flattering. Sam Altman admitted it.
Yeah, apparently praising usernames, getting way too excited about people's hobbies. Some users found it a bit much.
So the engineers dialed it back.
They did. It highlights that tricky balance, you know? AI charisma is a double-edged sword. Too flat, it's boring. Too much, it's creepy.
We'll probably end up with sliders, won't we? Adjust warmth, adjust skepticism.
Seems likely. Choose your AI's personality. Okay, shifting gears again. Reasoning. XAI's Grok 3.5.
Musk's team claiming first principles reasoning for physics problems. That sounds ambitious.
Very. Beta testers reported seeing step-by-step derivations, like something out of Feynman's notebooks.
So not just finding answers, but generating the proof.
That's the claim. If true and independently verified, it'd be a huge step, an epistemic milestone, moving beyond just pattern matching.
But keyword if need those external benchmarks like performance on math Olympiad problems.
Absolutely, healthy skepticism required. But the potential is intriguing. Meanwhile, Anthropic's Claude got a memory boost.
Sort of. They opened it up to third-party model context protocol servers.
Which basically means
Claude can connect to external databases you control and treat them like extra memory, accessing information beyond its built-in context window limit, like that 100K token barrier.
Ah, so it could potentially work with much, much larger knowledge bases. Streaming data, even.
That's the idea. And the big implication here maybe is shifting power back to data owners. Instead of the LLM provider having all the knowledge, you provide your own specialized data.
Interesting. Could disrupt that whole SaaS eats the world dynamic a bit if you can just plug your data into a powerful model, democratizing access.
Potentially. Okay, let's look globally. China's AI progress.
Alibaba's Qwen 3 is a good example. They're focusing hard on algorithmic efficiency, partly because of the U.S. chip sanctions.
Making models smarter, not just bigger.
Seems like it. Using techniques like retrieval augmented generation, symbolic reasoning, managing to get benchmark results comparable to much larger models.
Which is good for developers everywhere, right? Smaller models mean lower costs, less dependence on, say, NVIDIA hardware.
Exactly. Though that NVIDIA CDA lock-in is still a huge factor. Open source compilers like MLIR might offer alternatives down the line, but it's a challenge. It's a global race with geopolitical currents running through it.
Definitely. Okay, bringing it back to the desktop. Percept's teeth.
Yeah, an AI assistant trying to use your Mac like a person would.
The demos sounded impressive, opening GarageBand, clipping audio, updating Figma mockups, without needing specific code.
Right. It uses the OS accessibility features combined with an LLM that understands UI layouts, so it could sort of see and click things semantically.
But the security implications.
Oh, huge. You could bet security researchers are going to be tearing that permissions model apart. Giving an AI that much control over your OS needs to be rock solid.
Still, it paints a picture of more integrated proactive assistance, doesn't it? Okay, on a lighter note, the nostalgia engines.
Huh, yeah. Clink turning selfies into those looping Polaroid animations.
And Hicksfield letting you drop yourself into movie scenes? Like the Matrix shootout.
Yeah, fun stuff, but the underlying trend is interesting. Are personal photos becoming these 3D-aware assets? You could relight them, repose them.
Recontextualize them. Maybe future phones will store volumetric avatars, not just flat pictures.
Could be. Okay, let's get physical. Robotics, lots happening there.
Astrobot S1. Teaching at pick and place moves really fast.
Super fast. Using their PIU framework, apparently non-experts got a 99% success rate on 500 moves in just an hour. It's like the robot learns via this tight feedback loop, generating its own training data.
Like Tesla autopilot data annotation, but the robot's doing the interacting and learning directly.
Kind of, yeah. Data network effects in the physical world. Then there's TAAI's ALMI.
The divide and conquer approach for robot control.
Right. Decoupling leg stability from torso dexterity, then syncing them up, allowed that Unitree H1 robot to do jumping jacks, which is pretty impressive dynamically.
Managing those forces without falling over.
Yeah.
And DeepMind's SAS prompt.
Reframing robotics policy search as prompt engineering. You tell the robot arm in natural language, like, be energy efficient, and the LLM adjusts its parameters.
So natural language is becoming the programming language for the robot.
In a way, yes. It's come full circle. Language describing programs, now language is the program.
Wow, okay. And Lemix Dynamics, just a teaser.
Just a silhouette video of their CL3. Looked like it had advanced 7-degree of freedom arms, maybe similar to NASA's Valkyrie.
But the hands are the key unknown.
Always. Hand dexterity determines what it can actually do. But the rumored price, around $150K, would be way cheaper than, say, Boston Dynamics. Could really accelerate things if true.
Okay, underpinning all this, hardware. Huawei's new chip.
The Ascend 910D. They claim it's within 15% of an NVIDIA H100.
Despite U.S. export controls.
Yeah.
And made in China on a 7mm process.
Yeah, the N+2 node. It's a major technological feat, given the lithography challenges.
But the software is still the hurdle compared to CET.
That's the big challenge. Though, again, open source compilers might chip away that over time. It's this constant hardware-software interplay with geopolitics layered on top.
Back to software briefly, AI helping developers.
The leaks about Apple integrating Claude Sonnet into Xcode for inline code suggestions, tests, refactoring, commit messages.
If that happens at WWDC, expect debates about IP, right? Does Apple owe royalties if Claude suggests code that looks like something from GitHub?
Absolutely. That's going to be a huge discussion. How do we handle AI code generation and intellectual property?
Okay, another critical application, genomics.
The pilot programs in Bengaluru using AI to spot cancer risk alleles incredibly fast, like under an hour.
Which could make clinical trials cheaper, because you can find the right patients more easily.
Exactly. Better patient stratification using AI. Huge potential downstream effects for medical research. But data governance is key. Need scalable ways to manage all that sensitive genomic data.
Definitely critical. Okay, AI and media integrity. World Press Freedom Day brought this up.
Yeah, the usual balancing act. AI for fact-checking is good. AI for deepfake news is terrifying.
So the idea is more transparency. Open sourcing prompt chains, audit trails.
That was one suggestion. Document how AI was used rather than trying to ban it. Let people see the process, build trust, allow reproducibility.
Makes sense. Be transparent about the tool. But then there's the dark side.
Voice cloning scams. They're surging, apparently. People getting calls from fake loved ones generated by AI asking for money.
And watermarks might not be enough because they can be removed.
Potentially, yeah, with denoising. So the better defense might be things like pre-shared code words, out-of-band verification.
A low-tech solution to a high-tech problem. A reminder that this tech can be used maliciously. Okay, couple more areas. Transportation.
Lyft's driver copilot, using data flight times, concerts, weather, to tell drivers where the demand is likely to be.
Turning every driver into a tiny hedge fund trading on ride demand.
Huh. That's a good analogy. But the question is, does the algorithm eventually just saturate those high-demand areas? Does the advantage decay as everyone follows the same signals?
Good question. Classic market dynamics. Okay, last big thought. The lines are blurring.
Totally. Between AI as a tool and AI as a teammate, think Claude's external memory or that desktop AI like 6.
It's becoming more integrated, more proactive. What was the term used? Ambient collaboration.
Yeah. AI working in the background, orchestrating context, data, actions, maybe anticipating what you need before you even ask. A much more seamless partnership.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, the big theme that jumps out from all these sources is this sense of agency shifting outwards, right?
Definitely. Smaller, smarter models.
Yeah.
Interfaces becoming more tactile and direct. Language driving robots. Niche hardware popping up. AI shaping commerce and even culture.
Yeah.
Power and capability are distributing in new ways.
But like that opening quote said, it's a jagged path. For every cool new tool, there's a new scam vector or a privacy headache.
Exactly. Open access comes with data risks. Convenience comes with potential surveillance. Progress isn't neat or clean.
Which means we all, technologists, citizens, everyone need to stay vigilant. Keep the enthusiasm, sure, but also keep a critical eye on the unintended costs.
Well said. It's about balancing the potential with the pitfalls.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration. Hopefully, digging into the details this week gives you a clearer picture of where things are actually moving.
We hope so.
And maybe, just maybe, the next time you see some breathless headline shouting, AI changes everything, you'll pause for a second. Think about the nuances, the trade-offs we talked about, and decide for yourself which changes really matter.